I want to talk to you today about making offers. Offers are the lifeblood of what we do. If you're not making offers, you're not closing. If you're not making offers, you're not getting houses under contract. Most people, especially newbie investors, they get obsessed with trying to find motivated sellers, calling them, door knocking, cold calling, sending emails, dropping flyers by their house. But once they get that call back, they don't know what to do. They start freaking out. Now it's time to write an offer. Now, when you're writing an offer, it's important to understand what that offer means. An offer is a written form of a request to purchase someone's house. Now, once they receive that offer, they can either reject, they can accept, or they can counter that offer. Now, once they accept that offer and they sign the offer, now you have a contract. Yes, the offer and the contract are the same document. It's just about once you get those signatures on the offer, then it becomes an executed contract. Now, let's talk about what goes into an offer so you can better understand how to negotiate deals. Because individuals that understand the terms within an offer and the provisions within an offer have more leverage when negotiating with motivated sellers. When I first got into real estate investing, I was always intimidated. I would look online and look at offers from different states and from this website and from this investor. Please realize that no two offers are the same. You shouldn't look at an offer or a contract that somebody provided you as something that's set in stone, because every real estate transaction is going to be different. You're going to need different provisions. You're going to need different protections against liabilities, especially if you're in commercial or in investing. These transactions can differ from deal to deal. So it's important that you establish a great working relationship with your title company and also establish a great relationship with your real estate attorney, because your real estate attorney can always advise you on how to proceed in each transaction. And they may tell you, hey, for this transaction, let's take out this provision. But for this transaction, let's add in this provision and let's add this addendum and this attachment. So understanding that not all contracts or offers are going to look the same, the important thing is to consult with your attorney to make sure that this document is sufficient to do what you need to do on this specific transaction. Okay, now back to the offer. Let's split it up, right? So to make it simple, I like to split an offer into two pieces: time and then money. Let's talk about the money piece first, because I know that's the most important part, right? And the most important part of the document, as usually in bold letters, is the purchase price. The purchase price is how much you're willing to offer for the property and how much a person is willing to accept. Now, most people think that's the most important thing about the document. But it's not so much all the time. Sometimes as an investor, you can use that purchase price as a smokescreen for them not to look at the rest of the document as closely as they should. And there's a couple companies that make their bones by doing that on a regular basis. There are a lot of iBuyers that increase or inflate their purchase price, and then they utilize built-in fees or service fees or admin fees to the tune of $20,000 to recoup the rest of their margin. So understand that purchase price is not always everything, but a lot of very savvy investors utilize that number and utilize their knowledge of an offer and of a contract to get advantages when negotiating with motivated sellers. So we got the purchase price out of the way. The next piece of money within an offer is the earnest money. Now, most states have earnest money, and earnest money can be viewed in multiple ways. In my state, in North Carolina, earnest money is held in escrow by an escrow agent. So an escrow agent is usually an attorney or a title company. And sometimes if there's a real estate agent involved, sometimes the real estate company serves as the escrow agent. The thing to remember is you want to make sure it's held by a third party, so that money cannot be accessed by any parties of the contract, because you want to make sure everybody performs what they're supposed to perform before that money is dispersed to someone. All right, so that's our earnest money. Our third piece of money within an offer is the due diligence money. Now, some people may say, what the heck is due diligence money? Because this is not a common practice in all states. However, it is a very unique way to gain leverage in a transaction, because due diligence money is a non-refundable deposit that's paid to a motivated seller, and it lets them know that, hey, I'm very interested and it gives you an opportunity to have a ton of skin in the game. And sometimes that's the difference between you winning out on a deal or losing a deal. I've had times where you suppress your purchase price, but you offer them a ton of upfront due diligence money, because that due diligence money is made out to that motivated seller, and they may be strapped for cash. And if you write them a large check for due diligence money that's non-refundable, they may take that lowball offer. So understand, there's different ways to play with the numbers and play with the terms in order to gain leverage in negotiation. Now, the last piece of money in the contract is closing costs, right? And we all have heard of seller paid closing costs, seller paid credits. Buyers and sellers oftentimes go back and forth because a lot of sellers don't know what closing costs include until they get that closing disclosure or they get that HUD, right? Please remember that closing costs are anything associated with the purchase of a home. So utilize that as some leverage, because you may give them an inflated purchase price, but then ask for a ton of closing costs. Now, as long as you're paying cash, that shouldn't be a problem. In some situations, if you're using the lender may have certain requirements that you may only be able to take 3% in seller paid credits, but that's always something to talk about, and that's on a case-by-case basis. So now we've talked about the money: purchase price, due diligence money, earnest money, and closing costs. So that's the money side of an offer. Let's talk about the time. Let's talk about the time. The first date that you want to look at is the date that the contract was executed. So the date that the contract was executed is the date that the last party to the contract signed. So for example, if we got in the contract on January the 1st, or let's say the seller signed on January the 1st, and the buyer didn't get a chance to sign it to the 3rd, your actual contract date is January the 3rd. Because you're not under contract until all parties have signed and communicated with one another that you are in fact under contract. The next date I want to talk about is your due diligence period. Your due diligence period is the period of time that you have to assess a property. Now, due diligence money is usually utilized to secure that time frame. The more money that you put forward, theoretically, the more time that you have. During that due diligence period, you want to do so many things. I've done a ton of videos on due diligence and some of the things that can happen if you don't do due diligence. I suggest you check out some of those videos. I'll drop a link below. But understanding that you need to utilize that period of time to really assess that property, secure your financing, and just do a whole host of things. You're really up against the gun during that due diligence period, and understanding that if you go outside that due diligence period, you usually put your earnest money at risk. So it's important that you understand how to go about doing your due diligence in a timely manner. All right, let's talk about the next time frame within the contract, and that's your settlement date. So people confuse settlement date with closing. During your settlement date and at the point of settlement, you're sitting down at the table and you're just signing documents. The attorney or the title company is making sure money is going where it's supposed to go. They're going to make sure that due diligence money has been accounted for. They're going to make sure the third party escrow agent has dispersed the money to where it belongs. Everybody's going to take a look at the HUD statement or the closing disclosure and make sure the money and everything is lining up so you can account for every dollar that exchanged hands during the transaction. And that's what happens during the settlement. Closing is a little bit different. So after you settle, the closing doesn't take place until that document, that deed, is recorded with the county. So once everybody's paid, then you close. Then the attorney, the title company, records the deed with the county. Now you're closed out and you officially own the house. So don't make the mistake of closing late on a Friday at 4 or 5 o'clock and you don't record until that Monday, or it's a holiday and you don't close till Tuesday. You technically do not own that house until that deed is recorded with your name or your company name with the county. Now, I hope this information has been useful. I want you to remember that you can utilize the money part, the time part, the terms and the provisions to really gain leverage on motivated sellers when negotiating a contract. If this information has been useful, please subscribe to our channel. Take the time to sign up for our alerts. We're going to promise to continue to provide you with useful and new content. And remember, if you always provide value, the rest will take care of itself.